Hey, my name is Scott Sallow, along with
Olympian Todd Williams.
We are here for another exciting edition of Coach's Corner, LevelUp Studio here at the LevelUp Training Center.
Looking forward to bringing the best to the podcast.
Hey, grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax as we bring you another great episode starting now. And we are back. Episode 5. Let's go. Episode 5.
Oh.
Hard to believe. It feels like we just did 4.
We kind of did.
Episode 5. We're going back to the mat. Place that you're comfortable.
I like the mat.
I'm not so comfortable.
Which I'm going to try to get you on the mat one day.
Good try.
Yeah.
Although I did put on the boxing gloves a while ago, right? So I feel like I can get on the mat. I watched one of your practices. I feel like that's close.
I hope that it never gets aired.
Yeah, that episode.
Yeah.
No,
you with the gloves on.
I thought I looked tough.
No.
Did you see me with that bag?
It was bad. Get to the guest. Come on.
Get to the guest today. Come on. How about this? Regional Coach of the Year.
Yes.
Let's go Bears. Come on. Ryan Nadeau in the house this morning. Ready to go, brother?
I'm ready. I'm always ready to go.
I mean, this is your week. This is your week. Let's go. We got team state, individual state. You're winning trophy. Did you bring the trophies today?
No trophies.
Somebody said you had to have a truck to get all the hardware that you've earned this year. Is that true?
It's been a pretty good year.
It's been a really good year. Go Bears. So we're going to talk all things wrestling today, right? I know you and Todd have a little bit of a relationship there. You've been out to a practice or something.
Out to a few practices.
Right?
Yeah.
Getting the guys all jacked up, ready to go. So for those that don't know you and your story, Ryan, tell us a little bit about your background and, man, how you ended up here on Coach's Corner today.
I grew up in Monroe. I'm from Newport. I went to Jefferson my whole life. Fell in love with wrestling pretty early there. I had an intramural program.
Okay.
And met Ed Brighton early on in my life. And he's been my mentor ever since. And I had to find a way to get back to wrestling, and teaching was the avenue.
Yeah.
So I spent some time going to school out in Wisconsin, did a little wrestling at Concordia.
Nice. Okay.
Transferred to Eastern, and got right into the coaching game immediately, right out of school.
And been at Jefferson your entire coaching career?
Entire coaching career. Been teaching there. This is 17 years teaching, but coaching 22.
Nice. I love it. And how many years as head coach?
2 years as head coach.
Wow, look at that. I mean, crazy.
You took over for Coach Humphrey.
Coach Humphrey. Yeah. That was his, I would like to say I was his right-hand man for 20 years.
Yeah. I'm Todd's right-hand man for episode 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For 5 episodes here. So here's what I got to tell you. We're going to start with this. So longtime baseball coach, right? So we're getting into January, February, winter workouts. I've got my pitchers and catchers going. And then next door from 3 to 5, 5:30, I'm watching wrestling practice, right? And so I thought, man, baseball guys, they work pretty hard. Let me just tell you, and I have a great respect for all of different coaches, different sports, right? We've had a bunch of them on our show already. But I tell you, wrestling's a different beast, man. I watched a practice. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. That is crazy. I mean, that is hard. So tell me, what's a typical practice look like?
Typical practice, pretty regimented. We start at 3 o'clock. I like to get the mats pulled and clean up about 3. There's usually some spike ball games out, some music going. We like that to be a light.
Yeah, I like the music going.
I try to say hi to every kid coming in, make sure I acknowledge them, let them know that we're thinking of them.
Right.
Right. And
like
about
that.
3:15, man, we bring them in. I talk to them, and it starts to go. We warm them up. We got about 6, 7 different warm ups we use. We get them in some specific warm up drills depending on what we're doing that day. Every day's different. And then live wrestling, drilling, conditioning, you name it, we mix it up.
Yeah, I saw some footage on Monroe County Sports Network. They came out and did a little bit on your team there.
I would describe what we do as it's pretty organized, and I say it's fast and furious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's fast and furious.
Wow, unbelievable. Yeah, I watch them, and my kids are next door, the baseball kids. Look, I'm thinking, you guys think you're tough? Watch a little bit of that. I was sweating just watching the kids working out. That was nuts. So shout out to Coach Eldred and the Homer wrestlers, because that was lights out watching that experience. So
I get that vibe a lot that people are watching us.
Oh my goodness,
other teams, people out of track. And
it's nuts until you've watched it. I mean, I went and watched. Oh, I've been in Todd's studio. What do you call it? Studio?
Just call it a gym.
We're just calling it the gym.
Yeah.
I've been in there a time or two. It's a gym.
It's a gym. You've been there one time.
Go to studio.
You've been there one time.
No, I came to see him one time. You didn't have anybody in there.
And then you ran.
I watched
ran
one
out the door.
practice, and that was all it took. I mean, some people say it's all. Oh, then you get hooked. I was hooked. I was on hook. What not to do? It was too hard for me.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. Some people are better off not on the mat, Ryan. That's what I always say.
I think so.
And speaking of that, you've got the successful high school program going. What is it when a parent says, I'm going to get my kid into wrestling? You know what I mean? Because you have swimming, baseball, basketball.
A lot of options, yeah.
Is it just a family thing from the beginning? Because I know I wrestled, I guess when I was 6, 7, 8 in youth wrestling out at the high school when I was a little guy. But, you know, it takes a parent, I feel like, that they're already in wrestling to get into wrestling, right?
That's how it started for me. My dad did a little wrestling at Jefferson.
Right.
And I remember getting dragged to sheriffs when I was little.
Yeah.
And dual meets and kind of fell in love with that way. But he kind of introduced it to me.
Yeah.
Right. And we get a lot of kids cycling back through. It was a brother or an uncle or a dad, some kind of family tradition. But there you get kids showing up too that have never done it before.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
so
right.
that's interesting. That would be me. So how about this? A kid walks in to the gym after, hey, coach, I'm here for the first time. What are you going to do to convince him to come back day 2? I mean, what's in it for him? What's that conversation like? I mean, I got it if there's a heritage, my family, my uncle, my brother. But this is a new person, right? Never can spell wrestling.
What? And you're talking about a 10th grader?
I'm just saying it doesn't matter what grade. I'm saying they're coming out for the first time. How do you convince them to stick with wrestling? Because it's tough.
I don't think we can convince them. I think it's on that kid. But we've made a pretty good room where a kid comes in. We don't chase too many kids away, whether they've done it before, whether they haven't done it.
Just find a spot for them.
I think the environment, like we've had a lot of first time kids this year that are seeming to flourish and having a good time. Yeah. Right.
So how often do you find a kid that hasn't wrestled from age 5, 6, the youth programs? How often do you see a kid that's super athletic that comes out of nowhere, signs up as a 9th grader, and then they make an impact? Is that?
It's not that common.
Yeah.
It's not as common as you would think.
Yeah.
But it does happen. And when it happens, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I've made a career out of being the middle school PE teacher and kind of finding these kids early.
You're right.
Yeah,
And
that helps.
kind of talking to them before they make the decision. Like, hey, I think you got what it takes.
Yeah.
Hey, you work pretty hard in here. Hey, you're pretty competitive. Come out for the wrestling team. So been ahead of that game for a
Now,
while.
as a PE teacher, can you pull the mats out and have the kids wrestle?
Part of a
during class?
unit.
No, part of class. Because let's say Coach Jones or some of the coaches we had over the years, we could play basketball. He could evaluate talent.
Right.
So as a wrestling coach, could you pull the mats out?
I could pull the mats out.
Have you ever done that?
I've never done that because we're a smaller school, and I see all the kids come through the gym, and I kind of know what I'm looking for.
I got you.
Okay.
Right? But if it was a bigger school, that's a fantastic idea because you wouldn't normally see all the kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would.
Well, if the kids are acting up, you could take them through a wrestling practice.
Sure, right? It might scare them away too. It might do the opposite of what you're trying to do.
Backfire. See, earlier in the show, you mentioned some of the early coaching influences. Others that played a role in getting you to where you're at today, as far as having that coach's bug, man, just bitch and say, you know what? I remember that person, that coach, that conversation that led you to where you're at today.
100%, man. I went through Jefferson in the early mid '90s. Things were booming. Every coach was a teacher. I had 3 of the best coaches ever. I had Kyle Cooley as a cross country coach. He was the right guy for me. I'm going to hold off on the wrestling guy, but I played baseball for Dave Sontag.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's my guy.
Talk about energy.
That's our guy. We're getting him on the show.
Yes, we are.
Talk about energy, man. Like,
Yeah.
I learned a lot from Dave. I still use some of Dave's tricks to this day, just kind of bringing the juice, he used to call it.
Yeah.
And then my mentor, Ed Brighton. Holy smokes, I owe the guy so much.
Yeah.
He was like a father figure to me. He's a mentor. He did everything by the book, did it right. I just got a lot of respect for him. I always give him credit for he's probably why I'm here today.
I think
coaching.
one of the coolest things as a coach, and we've all done it and continue to do it, but now you think about the student athletes that you are working with, those kids are going to be having conversations about you someday. You know what I'm saying? If they're not doing it now, it's like, man, I coached Nadeau back in the day, and I remember this, and that. How cool is that? To have a kid 2 years later, 3 years later, see you at the gas station, see you at the store, and say, hey, coach, remember that meet? I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think you get into it for that reason. I think you get it because you get into it because you love the sport. But, man, that's one of those bystander things that happens. It's like, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? Got to develop some relationships here that meant something to that kid. Right? So it kind of drives you a little bit when you start getting some of that stuff. Right?
I love it.
Right.
Oh, that's good stuff. So I said earlier in the show, I am now the 3rd toughest guy on the set. 4th. Pete doesn't count. Pete's always tough. So jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I think this would be I think this is a serious question. You're a good wrestler. He's like black belt guy, right? Your wrestling game, how does it translate to jiu-jitsu? And then how does yours translate?
Hey, you know what? Bronco just walked in, so now you're
We're not going to get. We're going to get to Bronco. Well, Bronco knows I'm tough. We're going to get to Bronco later. Bronco knows I'm tough. That's why he's standing up right in the doorway. So jiu-jitsu, man, is that for you down the road?
I don't think it's for me, but I would say they're like first cousins. I think wrestling and jiu-jitsu are very similar. The discipline, the work ethic, the positions. I don't think you want to mess with either guy if you don't do either one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Hey, I went out and rolled, wrestled with the kids. We always like 3 or 4 years ago. Maybe
Yeah, sure.
4. Yeah, and that was, I wrestled again. I think they are first cousins. It's just, there's different rule sets, different things you can do, but it's bottom line is you got to work extremely hard to get to a pretty decent level.
Sure.
Hard work.
A lot of discipline.
Tell us a little bit about your season so far. I know recently regional champs, regional coach of the year. Tell us a little about your season here in a nutshell.
We were excited coming in. We had a lot of returners coming back. And I was particularly excited because this group of kids, these seniors, I was their middle school coach too. So we've been together for about 6-7 years.
That's
so
cool.
So we were excited about it. We knew kind of what we had, but as coaches, we still know it takes a tremendous amount of work, right? And a lot of things can go right and a lot of things can go wrong. So we talk about all the time about just controlling the things we can.
Yep.
And the kids buy in, they trust us, and it's kind of went to script. Like the kids, they showed up. We've been lucky. We've been fortunate. We've had every kid every meet almost, and they compete. They go out and do their jobs. They understand what's going on.
Love it.
And I think a lot of these kids want it.
Yeah. How many kids in your program?
Right now, the varsity's carrying 31.
Wow. Is that a good number?
It's a decent number.
Okay.
And then the JV underneath.
That's the whole team.
That's everybody.
Oh, that's the 31 on the team.
31.
I got you.
Is that about where you'd want it to be? Is that a good for your size school? Is that a good wrestling number?
I
know you're not going to turn away anybody.
That's a great number. I'll take as many as show up. It was 40, 50. We make
You
it
got
work.
room for it? We'll make room.
Yep.
We'll make room. Build it, and they will come.
Yep. I think wrestling's for everybody. I like to see every kid out.
And we try to ask this question with every guest is like, parents trying to figure out what they're going to do with their kid. So for them to get into wrestling, where would they start in our county?
If they're little, we've got a fantastic feeder program called Bear Attack. We've been running that for, it seems like 20, 25 years.
BearAttack.com or
They all got their own Facebook pages. They got a
Okay.
Bear Attack
love it.
Facebook. We got the Jefferson Varsity Wrestling, a lot of information. But we start the feeder program. If you're older than 8th grade, we've got a lot of summer and spring opportunities we throw at kids to keep kids going. It's for everybody. Right? We open that up, open rooms, live wrestling, you name it.
Here's a question for us, speaking of like youth and then going into the middle school and high school. When do you think an athlete, you'll say you got a wrestling, he's got it. Do they pretty much automatically think I'm going to wrestle year round? Or when do you recommend a wrestler to go, you need to wrestle year round?
Man, that's a tough one. Every kid's different. I'm not sure wrestling is a year-round sport.
Right.
That's a tough deal.
It's like a couple months off just to
I would say at least a couple months
Months
off.
off.
We've always pushed 3-sport athletes at Jefferson. We're a small school. We got to share the kids. But man, if someone's really serious about it, there's opportunities. But I still don't know it's a 12.
So if you had a D1 kid, that type of talent, would you say, you got to calm down here a little bit? You got to calm down, take a couple months off, lick your wounds. You don't need to be doing tournaments year round because there are probably tournaments year round for it.
There's as much wrestling as you can find.
Yeah, but you'd still recommend take some time and
I would still recommend picking your spots. Depending on how things are going, or if there's any injuries, or even just taking a temperature. Right? Like how's things going?
Right.
You got it all together.
Yeah.
I'm not a big 12-month guy.
Yeah.
9-10 sounds better.
Yeah.
Right, but you can always certainly do something in that off time.
Yeah, because I feel like technically you can constantly learn, right? To wrestling.
Sure,
the
you
technical
can join a jiu-jitsu class and learn some things, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we talked about a couple different times with our coaches, and that's what we love doing our Coaches Corner, because we obviously get to learn so much from you guys and your craft too. But how do you learn today? I mean, are you talking to other coaches, your mentors, you reading books, you watching video? How are you getting better at your coaching piece?
Yes.
All of that.
All of it.
All of that.
All of it. I think if you're stagnant and you're not evolving, you're going to get left behind a little bit in this game. Kids are changing, the game's changing, and I'm always trying to figure out what's next. How do we move it forward? How do we evolve? Yeah. Right. So books, YouTube, other coaches, things I've learned over the 20 years. The last practice we had, how do we make it better?
What's the biggest change you've seen in the last 20 years with wrestling? Technically, because it's weird, it's odd. You think let's say in '96, you think that guy's the best wrestler of all time,
right?
And then 10 years later, no, that guy's the best wrestler. What changes in wrestling?
The skill level is went through
Speed,
the roof, right?
yeah.
I think kids are wrestling so much that they're doing things when they're little, like as far as like advanced techniques are happening at a youth level.
Right.
Guys were 20 years ago were learning this stuff till high school, college. So the skill level's way up.
Yeah.
Right? The scrambling's way up. Like kids being athletic. Right? So just the amount of wrestling they're doing is taking the techniques through the roof.
Conditioning wise for the kids, do you think wrestling on the mat is the most important thing, or what is it a combination of off the mat conditioning? What I always look at, because if I'm on the mat, people say, what should you do outside the mat? I'm like, I feel like you need you got to be on the mat rolling. What's your opinion on that?
I share that. I think if you're going to get better at wrestling, you better be wrestling. So we're not a track
Not
team.
like the movie Vision Quest
Right.
where you got the
No.
lumber on you and you're going up the steps. Is that more mental though? Because I watch stuff on YouTube with wrestlers like the Princeton has a YouTube channel where he just takes them to the track at 4 a.m. and he goes, "You're going to do a mile, 1,200, 800, 400." And the wrestlers are like, "What?" It's out of nowhere, right? They got this camera and he goes, "We're not doing this for wrestling. We're doing this for your mind."
There's all kinds of stuff coaches should be doing like that.
Yeah.
But still, I think if you're a wrestling team, you should be wrestling.
Wrestling, yeah.
Right. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do conditioning wise to keep it fresh. Right. Throw curveballs at them, keep them guessing.
Right.
But we want to wrestle. We want to get better at wrestling. We got to wrestle.
Nice.
Yeah. I've always thought of that, and I think it's been successful, whatever which way you go. But playing basketball like you and I did, if you're shooting free throws, you miss a free throw, so we're going to run. It's like, man, why aren't we just practicing our free throws? It just make more sense, But I get it. There's a piece of both ends, and I'm sure there was that early morning running had more to do with maybe you're late in the third round wrestling and you got to grind it out, and you're remembering those 4 a.m. workouts out at the track. I'm sure there's something to be said about that too.
Over 20 years, we've chased some kids off because of the amount of running coaches before me were doing. I just didn't want to
So
run.
it was too much for them.
Too much running. So we've got an indoor track at the rec center. We've got a beautiful training facility to coach wrestling.
Nice.
We rarely get up on that track. We use every part of that building outside of that track. And, I would like to think our conditioning level, from what I've seen this year, we're top notch. Our kids are in shape. We can wrestle overtime. Right?
So you're leaving practice. Practice gets over 5:30, whatever it is. You're driving home, and in your mind, today was a good practice. What made it a good practice? What happened that day to make it a good practice?
Yeah, it starts with the plan. Right, it starts with a good, solid plan. I'm always overly prepared.
Yep.
I've always got some kind of paper in my hand or my phone
like
loaded. Right.
Hence the reason he's region coach of the year.
Right there. I know. I wish you had brought his hardware. It'd been home.
He's got it in his car. Don't let
It's
him
on his car. We're going to get it after.
He's got
We're
it.
going to do a
with him.
clip. Pete's going out to get it right now.
So it starts with a really good plan, right? And then it also, I feel like head coach sets the weather.
Yeah.
So the minute I hit that door, it's on me to make that vibe.
Yeah.
It's got to be some kind of
That's
vibe,
good
whether I'm chatting at kids or where the music's right or where we're engaging with people and getting things moving. So the plan and having some energies is number one, and then the kids got to execute it. So you need some leadership, you need some kids flying around, you need kids working hard, and it's contagious. So it kind of all comes together. It's a whole total team effort from the coach down, right?
And we talk oftentimes about building a program and surrounding yourself with good, positive people. Yes. Maybe speak to the importance of assistant coaches, your parent groups, community, your staff members, people that have poured themselves into Jefferson wrestling.
That was number one. When I took the job, I knew that building the right staff was gonna be major, right? And I didn't have many guys because we kind of cleaned house.
Okay.
And my assistant Richie McKinney come back. I don't think I would do this without him, right? And the next thing I know, I started collecting guys that had wrestled for Jefferson, guys that had wrestled for me.
Yeah.
Year one, I'd look over my shoulder. There'd be 12 guys standing there some practices,
great?
Which is great for
love
kids, right? You get a lot of one-on-one attention that way, and just kind of keep collecting them. I had some more kids come back that graduated last year, so we're up to 15, 16 coaches, and guys like Brian Prather come back, and guys like Tony and Anthony St. Andre came back. Cody Richards is in the room. John Allen come back immediately. So we're just collecting like these older Jefferson wrestlers and want to be around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and they're all guys that I feel comfortable having around kids. They share my philosophy.
Yeah. I love it.
Or wrestled for me and get it.
Yeah.
Right.
I always thought that was the coolest thing. One of the things we did in Homer Coach of Baseball was at the end of the year, hopefully at the end of a great year, we would have an alumni game. And it's just so important for me. I just sit back and watch all of these kids that want to put on the uniform one more time, and you're getting the same vibe now from those kids that want to give back to the program. That's when you know you've got something.
I think that's a testament to the program.
No question.
That kids want to come back. Adults want to come back. Right? And that's what you want.
I don't know if they're going to do many alumni wrestling matches.
You know what I'm saying? But just giving back, helping out in practice. So here's what I'm a music guy. I love my music.
All right.
What's on your soundtrack, man? What are you playing? Get the guys jacked up. What's on the playlist?
I was talking about this with Pete on the way down, and I say, hey, like, the kids don't always agree with my kind of music because I'm a Maroon 5 guy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm a Justin Timberlake guy. Bruno
You got T Swift going? You got T Swift going?
There are some days there's some T Swift going.
Okay.
Right? I got
I'm
a
just
wide
checking.
range of music, and I'm not sure.
I'm with you on that.
The guys are always into it, but
Okay.
right?
You got to mix it up on them a
Gotta
little
keep it
bit.
fun, right?
Keep it fun.
What'd you play?
You know what? We played, so during our pregame, we played Crazy Train,
Ozzy.
right?
Okay.
Crazy Train, and then Thunderstruck. I mean, those were our two songs. And so we had a tempo to our pregame that I knew where we should be in our pregame based where we were at on the song. So if we were screwing up and we were getting ready to play, whatever, and then sometimes I need a third song. If we really stunk, like Mr. Brightside, we're bringing out the Killers for the third song.
Right.
If we're getting into the Killers, that means it took way too long.
That's upper level.
Then we're having another conversation behind the dugout.
He's thinking JT right now.
Yeah, right.
He's on JT right now. He's on JT. How are you with Usher? You just played halftime.
Oh man, Usher's fantastic.
Big fan.
Great.
Yeah.
If you could add one thing to the program that you don't have right now, what would you add to the program?
I like that. Like magic wand.
That's perfect.
That's a magic wand question.
Man,
That's Coach's Corner special.
I thought about it all night.
He's been up all night thinking of this stuff. I know, that's good. That's good.
That's
good.
I mentioned the rec center. It's a fantastic facility. I don't think there's nothing like it around the county, right? We've got some things that people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for an upgrade to our wrestling room, and that's kind of on me, right? But I would love
space, mats,
not so much space, just a little bit of everything.
Okay.
It's been the way it has been for a long time, and it's been a pretty successful program. And there's just some things we could use, right? And I'm going to push for it.
So the property out there, pole barn, huge wrestling room only.
Sure.
And we got people watching the show right now.
Yeah, that's it.
With deep pockets in Jefferson. I'm telling you.
This podcast is hitting it. So let's get it done for Jefferson Wrestling.
When I got hired on the job, fundraising was number one, and we've proven we could raise some money.
Good.
And that's on the goal list. Get the room upgraded. Whether it's the one we're in currently or a new one, we'd like to get the room upgraded.
What would the dream room look like? What would have it?
I'm trying to picture it right now.
Yeah.
The dream room is state of the art. Right? It's got audio.
Oh.
It's got the TV presence. I can show short clips of videos I'm thinking throughout the day. It's got new padded walls. It's got dopamine bands. It's got ropes. It's got, you name it. It's got dyno bikes. It's got everything on site in the room where we don't got to chase it off of the building. Right.
Okay.
I love it. Some of the program, I mention names, but some of the programs that you're wrestling against have some of those pieces in place already.
I think some do.
Yeah.
I think some do.
Okay. So setting the
But
bar
as a
there.
head coach, that's one of those things I got to push for.
Yeah.
Right. If we want to be taken serious, I want that room to be serious.
We're thinking like rooms like you're talking about, like, say, what is it? Top programs in the state, Detroit Catholic Central. Would that
Sure.
be
Yeah,
one?
that's fantastic.
Would they have that kind of stuff?
That's what I mean.
saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Dundee's got a brand new room in the making. So it's like kids need top of the line stuff.
Yeah,
these
absolutely.
days, right. We've been making do, and it's a great facility. But I love to see the wrestling room upgraded.
Nice.
I love it. So you're fairly young as far as your coaching career, as far as head coach. You've been doing it a number of years. So somebody's wanting to get into coaching, right? And that's the reason we're doing this, right? Is to give back to Monroe County, people that want to get into coaching, impact, hopefully positively student athletes.
People. We're bragging on great
We brag
people
on
at Monroe.
people too. That's fun too.
I love bragging.
Because I never met Ryan before, and this is awesome. Man.
Oh,
This is good stuff. We're gonna go check out his hardware after.
Yep, thank you.
So what advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into coaching? Say, Ryan, man, I'm not sure if this is my calling or not. What would you tell them?
Get into it for the right reasons, right? If you get into it for yourself, or it's all about winning, you're probably going to fail. Yeah. You got to get into it to build people, graduate some champions. That's a big line we use. And
I love it.
Form relationships, right? Be a part of the community. Try to produce some kids that are going to go out and be successful. If you do those type of things, I think the rest of it works itself
I like
out.
it, man. I'm getting jacked
I
up.
got chills.
I've got a grandson. He's not quite old enough to wrestle yet. He's 6 months, but
There's some truth to that, though.
Okay.
Like if you're living
I love
right
it.
and you're
I
doing
love
it
it.
and you got the right ideas, the rest of it will take care of itself. Right?
So here, I got to know this. This is good. I want to get inside the. So you've got. I mean, we're competing for a state championship, right?
That's a goal.
Final words before your kids hit the mat that day. You've got them all in the huddle. You're in the locker room. You're wherever.
He doesn't want to let
No,
that out.
I just want to know what kind of stuff he's saying.
go ahead.
I don't want the
Throw it at
opponents
me.
to know. Dundee doesn't need to know.
it's-
But what are you telling your kids? Pete's not going to go tell them.
But that's going to come out that day. He can't just make it up
I'm
right
just
now.
saying in general. What are you
I'll give
telling
some
the kids?
Cliff notes here,
Okay.
right?
All right.
I got these kids in a huddle, state finals. I'm just going to tell them, hey, you're built for this, right? We've done the work. We like to say things like, the haze in the barn, right? We've done the work.
Okay.
Have some fun today, right? And get out there and be hammers on top, in periods on top. Hustle back to the center, represent your school, right? Put on a show for your fans.
Love it.
Right?
I love that.
This is good.
Speaking of that, we went to the Penn State-Michigan duel, right? And I noticed the Penn State wrestlers were always the one back to the center. They were running back to the middle. It's insane.
It's not negotiable for me.
Yeah.
Right. I want to get back to the center. Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Win or lose, right?
Win or lose.
Get
Right.
your butt back there quick.
No matter what's happening.
Okay.
Get back to the center.
I love it.
All right, I'm going to ask
I
the
love
question. I love asking this question. So you've been at Jefferson Wrestling for a long time. So I won't say top 5. I'll just say give me the top wrestlers
Okay.
out of Jefferson High School. And then side of the mat, the best performance you've ever witnessed on the side of the mat as a coach, athlete, during your time at Jefferson?
Oh man, put me on a spot here.
No,
I know.
Top 5.
Yeah.
You got,
No,
remember, he's got to go back to practice
I'm
tonight.
gonna go away
Just
from
top
top
wrestlers.
5. Just top, doesn't have to be top 5. Just
Okay.
We're just some name drop. Rattle off some names.
The 2 best wrestlers I've coached in my career are, it's probably a tie. Angelo Lepler was pretty fantastic.
record. What was his?
He was a 2-time finalist.
100 wins plus?
Oh yeah, 150.
Easy.
I
Plus,
feel
okay.
like all he did was win.
Okay.
Lost two final matches to the same kid twice, who went on to be a national champ at Olivet. Right. So Angelo Lepler was unreal, and Nick Humphrey. Nick Humphrey was solid, man. Nick Humphrey did everything right.
Yeah,
right, great.
See, I was thinking that the performance for wrestlers that when he won the state title was amazing.
That was a great run.
Crazy. Because he was down, right, when he came back to win the state title.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what he did was he wrestled up.
Yeah.
And he was giving weight up. I think the quarterfinal match, he gave about 40 pounds of the Three Rivers kid.
Yeah.
But the kid was solid. I don't think he ever was. I think he kind of dominated that tournament. The Nick Humphrey state title run was pretty special.
Wow. Love it. Jefferson Wrestling, we got to wrap it up, man.
Gotta wrap
it goes
it up.
fast.
Flies
That goes
by.
fast. I learned so much about
When
wrestling.
you're talking to greatness, it goes by
When you're
quick.
talking about greatness. We're going to put that back of a T-shirt.
Favorite Monroe
We just said
County
we got to
runner.
wrap it up.
Favorite Monroe County runner
all time.
hands down, is Todd.
There you go.
Yeah, that dude
We
was
have to
fast.
mention Todd on every show.
And my favorite boxer was Bronco
McCarthy.
That dude
We're
could
not
box.
getting to Bronco yet.
I
It's
think
going
we're
to his
getting
head.
I think we're getting Bronco in the show.
I don't know. Maybe he's coming up soon.
right.
We don't know.
All right.
But we got to mention Todd's name on every show. So
Okay,
that is
sounds
now
good.
5 consecutive shows. We're going to wrap it up. We'll be back for another edition of
Coach's Corner.